Hello, hello, and welcome back to Corona with Lime. I'm Chris. That's Adam. Welcome back. It's been a week since we were on the air last, and boy, what a week it's been. Adam, how you feeling?
I am actually feeling pretty good. Just enjoying my quarantine as usual. How are you feeling today?
Feeling okay. It's definitely been it's been a tough week. I feel like the longer this goes on, it's a matter of just like being aware, right, of like the stress of of this ongoing, like knowing that it's going to be ongoing for a long time, and just like it's kind of affected my sleep patterns a little bit and other things like that. But other than that, I don't have a lot to complain about. We're all happy and healthy here, so
Sure.
I think it's just all kinds of I think there's a lot more to be grateful for than to be scared of.
Totally. Well, I guess I would like to reach out to all my fam out there in the world and say happy Passover. That is
Happy
something that
Passover.
definitely brightened up my spirits yesterday. Is that I got to do a we didn't even use Zoom, but we used it's called like Blue Jeans, and we did
So
a
you got
huge.
together with your family. You did it all online.
Yeah, there was like 20 to 25 of us from like 10 or 11 different chat boxes, all coming together. Like a couple of people had like two or three in the family that were there, a lot of just single individuals on camera, but we had a very large family gathering for Passover yesterday.
That's
But
awesome.
the cool thing was my parents, who've been in lockdown since the beginning, had gone out and they bought a whole bunch of food for Passover, and they cooked all the food for the entire service, the entire Seder, and they left it on the doorstep for me outside. So I could
Wow.
drive over and I picked up the food and then brought it home. And then I got to prepare, a couple small things here at the house. But for the most part, it was still eating home cooked meal that my mom made. And boy, is she an amazing cook. So I definitely got to enjoy that. It was fantastic. So I'm really, really excited and happy
Wow.
now moving forward that I got to have a home cooked meal and see a lot of my family. So
That's
excited.
amazing. That's
Yeah,
amazing. Like that was just possible to do that, right? I know we're all starting to get tired of Zoom, but thank God for the 21st century, right? Like where, just like 10 years ago, that would have been, kind of a heavy lift.
sure.
It is, of course, Thursday, which means that we have our esteemed co-host waiting the wings here, ladies and gentlemen.
Do 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 do.
Uh, it's going
Just
to appear
kidding.
any second now.
Nobody. You get
Oh, there he is.
nobody. Oh, all right.
There he is, Ian, who probably can't hear us yet.
No, no. This is funny. This is funny, guys. Let's all stare at him. Anybody who's watching the show, let's all stare at him and
Yeah,
wait for things to load.
no, it's all
Um,
good, and you're unmuted. Hey, Ian, how you doing?
Hey, I am. There's a heavy echo. Hold on.
he's echoing heavy, guys. Now you have it.
All right.
Technology's fun. It's been fun. One of the fun things about this whole Corona situation, and oh, and we're sharing your whole screen right now.
Thank you, Ian, for taking over the whole world.
Yeah, Ian, I don't know if you want to be sharing your entire screen right now.
I'm trying to show my. Are we? Are we on already?
We're
Oh
streaming. We're,
yeah.
we're live
Oh, we're
now.
on.
Oh, well, that's fantastic.
All seven of you that I can count on your screen are on.
I don't. Where can I even view this? I don't know why I'm so inept at this.
On the top of the screen where it says you're sharing your screen,
Yeah,
unshare that link. It says link up top.
I don't even know. I'm supposed to be sharing my second.
So anyway, while he's going over this, Chris, you said you had some topics that you wanted to discuss today.
I do, but I can't. I kind of can't do it until Ian gets off the screen.
Oh, my bad.
He's still sharing his screen. Oh, maybe I can.
Probably.
You could probably unshare.
This looks so different.
Yeah.
Pause share. There you go. I did something.
Free publicity. What a G.
I have no idea.
Here, I'm gonna do that. There we go.
Okay, now it looks normal to me.
Yeah. All right, so and I think we're back on. Yeah, we're back formatted correctly. All right, cool.
Oh,
Ian,
thank you
it's
so
so great
much.
to have you. Sorry, but
Ah.
technology's weird. I know.
All right, well,
But yeah, so no, and Ian, I'm so glad you're here. Tonight is going to be a really fun episode to do. I don't know if you heard about this, but we're going to be tonight. We're going to be talking about conspiracy theories related to COVID-19, which has kind of gotten a little out of control. And like the more I'm reading about these online, the crazier they're getting. And I decided that maybe it was time that we kind of address it since it's becoming such a thing. And Ian, I know I'm glad that you're here, so you can give at least a little bit of respect. He was having some all kinds of technology. This is, it's funny that like everybody's like learning how to live stream right now and do all this, and it's just like a heavy curve right now. So like everybody's like getting new equipment and testing it out, and it's funny, and that's like been a running theme on this show for a while, so that is all good. And I just love Ian's whole setup going on back there. It's amazing.
try to use an Elgato. It's not happening.
So tonight's show is going to be about conspiracy theories. That's going to be our big topic tonight. But before we get to that, as always, we're going to get to the news first. Without further ado, let's catch up on that mess. Starting with, we were last on the air 1 week ago. That was April 2nd, and boy, what a week it has been. Back then, it was 213,144 cases in the United States total. Total deaths, 4,513. A week has gone by since then. Today is April 9th, and as you'll see, the numbers are not great. Total cases now up to 427,460. Total deaths, 14,696. That means that just in the last 7 days, we've had more than 10,000 deaths in the United States from this. We have also started doing worldwide numbers. So this was worldwide numbers a week ago, April 2nd. The total cases was just over a million, 1,012,070. Total worldwide deaths, 52,952. And that was a week ago. And today, brace yourselves, this is getting intense. Total cases, 1,598,226 total cases worldwide. 500,000 new cases just in 1 week worldwide. Total deaths, 95,403 worldwide. So what's really crazy about that number, you guys, is that, like I said a second ago, we're up to about 15,000, 16,000 cases here, deaths here, 10,000 just the last week. So of that increase of 40,000 or so total deaths worldwide, a quarter of that came just from the United States. You guys, that's pretty intense.
Wow. Yeah. Every time we come back to this, it always makes me it just puts me in a state of just awe. I was watching our first episode the other day, just going back, seeing what it was like, and the changes and stuff we've made. And in that first episode, which we aired on March 16th, there was something around like 3,500 cases in the entire United States and only 68 deaths. And the fact that it has climbed so much since March 16th is just, I don't know, it blows me away. It's just crazy.
Since we started broadcasting, it is now multiple hundreds of times as many deaths, just as in the 4 weeks since we started broadcast. This is our 4th week of doing this.
That's crazy.
And it is, it's just been, beyond crazy to watch this go down in real time. So like I said, tonight we're going to be talking about some conspiracy theories related to COVID-19. It's become kind of an escalating, kind of just like a total mess. And and the more I read about it, the crazier it gets. Like everybody's got a theory about like where the disease comes from, what its actual purpose is. And that seems to be kind of the cause, as so many conspiracy theories are, right? Like they're all trying to like what's the real truth of what's going on? Nobody loves the word truth more than conspiracy theorists, right? I
like truth.
And I just thought that like tonight maybe we can kind of do a little bit of research, like some group research, and just kind of get to the bottom of this and answer some questions. and get some medical perspective. We have some guests coming on tonight who are just the right people to talk to about this, including our first guest, who I'm going to bring on in just a second, and I'm going to let her know that she's coming on. She's a therapist. She is also a COVID-19 survivor. She lives in New York City, and I can't think of anybody who I'd rather talk to about this right now. But just real quick, I'm going to show you what we're going to be kind of covering tonight. So we're talking about conspiracy theories. There are primarily three. There are so many of them, but there are three that I want to hit tonight. The first is about, we're going to talk a little bit about the 5G towers conspiracy theory, which has become very popular, and it's been retweeted by, celebrities, people like Woody Harrelson and people like that, who are convinced that cell phone towers are actually to blame for this nonsense.
Totally.
The second one is the deep state hoax, how the COVID-19 is actually a plot by the Democratic Party in the United States to rob Donald Trump of his re-election prospects. We'll get into that a little bit. And finally,
I did that one. That was me.
And what might be the craziest and most dangerous of the three, which is the Chinese bioweapon theory, which is actually has two sides to it. One side says that it's the Chinese government that created the virus to weaponize against the United States, and the other one that says it's vice versa. And we'll get into that a little bit later as well. But that's pretty cuckoo bananas, you guys. Like this is gonna get this is gonna get pretty nuts. So without further ado, let me introduce you to the great and wonderful Rebecca Liebman Smith, who is also known. There she is. As she's connecting her audio. Hello. She may or may not. I think it's just gonna take her a second for her to be able to hear us. Yep. And you are unmuted. Hey.
Hi. Wait 1 sec. Just. Wait. Is that working?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, good. Okay.
You're fine. You're all good. I unmuted you.
One. Hello.
Hello, everybody. This is Rebecca Liebman Smith. She is a good friend. She is amazing. She is a licensed therapist. She lives in New York, and she is also a survivor of COVID-19. We think.
Hello.
We think survivor.
Super excited that you have a cocktail. Thank you so much for bringing that.
I am very glad that you brought a cocktail. What are you drinking right now? By the way, we don't call her Rebecca. We call her Booters.
You can call me either one. Booters. This is a blend of Amaro and whiskey with lime.
Oh, very nice.
Oh my gosh.
Very nice. I'm glad you're keeping it classy.
Thank you for
classy in quarantine.
Cocktail.
Yeah. So I mean, there's a lot to get into. I don't know if you were just watching what we were just talking about, but
what?
Yeah. So before we get too deep into that, I really want to quickly ask you, how was Passover? Did you celebrate yesterday?
It was good. I did not celebrate. I'm a Reformed casual Jew, so unless I can actually go with family and do the real thing, I don't really bother. But
I know a lot of people who actually normally celebrate regardless, and most people that I know were not able to celebrate yesterday because of everything going on with the lockdown. A lot of people said because their Bobby and Zeta were not cooking matzo ball soup for them, that they were not going to be celebrating, and it broke my heart. I felt bad. I mean, when you don't have family cooking for you, like that's the best part of the holiday, is somebody else gets to cook for you, and it's going to be better than what you're going to make anyway. So, well, at least in my case.
Yeah.
You got the hand delivered food, it sounded like, or you had to hand deliver it for yourself.
I drove over and I picked it up for myself, but I mean, my mom still made it, and I didn't get this chub without having like great food growing up. So that's one thing that I look forward to every year for Passover is to pack on a couple more pounds, and I was successful this year. So
did she do the homemade gefilte fish? That's my favorite thing in the world.
Daddy makes the best gefilte fish.
Yeah, her gefilte fish is on point. So we had some fantastic gefilte fish. It was amazing.
I'm here to third that Adam's mom is an amazing cook. And she's a wonderful person in general. But yeah, I just wanted to, and Booters, I wanted to bring you on for like a number of reasons. First of which was because you're amazing. The second of which is because I feel like you have a little more like some maybe professional level insight into the human mind, and I think that's where conspiracy theories come to live, right? That's where they come from. So before we go into deep diving into any of this nonsense, take me into the mind of a conspiracy theorist.
Sure.
Is it sort of like a big kind of global? Is it like what are the traits? Like what's going on there? What's the provenance?
Yeah, I mean it's paranoid projection. So I'm an old school analyst. So I'm training in psychoanalytic theory. So I actually just came from co-teaching a Freudian drive theory class. So my mind right now is in the old school stuff. So conspiracy theorists are using the defense of paranoid projection. Um, if that makes sense. Basically it's projecting your own aggression, your own uncontained, kind of unprocessed aggression onto some other force. They're doing something to you. So it's instead of you're the victim, or instead of you're the aggressor, you're now the victim.
Right, right.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like and I think it's a control thing, right? Like
Yes,
people need to find order in chaos. So they
absolutely.
say like, oh, it can't be this thing that's this invisible thing. It's got to be the Chinese government, or it's Trump, or it's the Democrats, or it's somebody.
Absolutely. Yeah. So right. It can't be just the universe doing this randomly to us. You know, we either we're victims for a reason, or
Someone's
yeah,
out to
or
get
the
us.
aggressor. There are actual aggressors out there who are the reason this is happening. It couldn't just be biology, you know.
Yeah, yeah, and one of the prevailing theories that's been coming out of this is the whole 5G cell phone tower theory. I don't know what you've heard about that or what you read, but here's the gist of it.
I looked.
The gist is so the way where it came from, and actually I can show you a little screenshot of an article that I found about it, which is really great. That somebody put together, but the it came from a Belgian reporter who, for whatever reason, decided that he was doing an interview about something completely different, and he says to his friend, "Hey, it's weird that all of these 5G masts in Wuhan, China, have been built. Isn't that a weird thing? Yeah, I wonder if that has anything to do with this like little flu thing. At the time, there was like 400 people who were sick, and it was just kind of like a little weird thing." And it was kind of a joke, and it got published in a a Belgian newspaper, and it became kind of like and then it was deleted almost immediately, and then it became this whole cause celeb with all of these random corners of the internet universe, QAnon and people like that, saying like, oh, this is actually all a hoax, and the Chinese created it using these 5G towers. Um, I think, and tell me if this is crazy, and Booters or anybody else want to weigh in on this. I think that this comes from, like, we were talking about how like people project, right, into like we need viruses are invisible, Wi-Fi signals are invisible. We have, and there's like a sort of a long-standing fear that cell phone towers cause cancer and other things. What do you make of this? Like,
Of the 5G.
yeah, this particular conspiracy theory. Why do you think this stuck?
A good question. Um,
People are weird.
But
yeah.
I think there's I think it's because there's like some context, because there's like there's the whole like, oh, everybody's cell phones in their pockets are causing cancer, and
Yeah.
oh, all these electrical signals going through the air are like doing things to our bodies, which science has ruled out. Just to be perfectly clear, science has ruled out radio waves, 5G waves, broadcasting waves cannot damage your cells. They're not strong enough to do that.
Good.
So, but
I just
yeah,
thought of
persist.
something. Here's a possible explanation that this virus has been so good for technology. It's essentially like benefiting cell phones, benefiting computers, the internet. That suddenly this is the only way we can communicate. So maybe that's part of it, that people are saying, wait a minute, who's benefiting? It's cell phones. They're winning now.
Yep.
The cell
Yeah.
phones win.
Are those like anti-techies? Is that like they're bringing this about to stop the technology? No, guys. If we're going to be quarantined in our house, get rid of your televisions, get rid of your cell phones, get rid of your computers. You must. You can have candlelight. That'll be healthy.
Caveman. Yeah, go back to caveman.
Yeah, but that's like the fear of aversion fear, right? Like, you know, we're scared of something like, oh no, I'm gonna regress back to a place that I know is safe, and you know I can't be hurt by these, you know. But I think because I think we have more control over something like taking down 5G cell phone towers, as opposed to like we can't do anything about a tiny virus.
Are they just saying it just to get rid of 5G towers? Maybe maybe it was built in somebody's backyard, and they're like, well, I don't want this. It's causing coronavirus. So get rid of it.
A conspiracy theory on top of the conspiracy theory. I like it.
Yeah.
That's great.
Layers there.
And this is the problem with conspiracy theories. There's a rabbit hole because, like, if you accept the premise that that something is done with nefarious intent is often layered, or can be thought of as being layered in a conspiracy theory. So it's like, you know, like the whole JFK assassination was really not a lone gunman who was out for himself. It was, it must have been the CIA and the FBI was involved and everyone was in on it. And, you know, Bush did 9/11 because like it makes sense that somebody would be evil enough to do stuff like that. Right. I mean, it's ridiculous. And we can do scientific investigations that disprove all of that. And it has been widely debunked. But yeah, it persists and people are like latching on to that meaning. Like it's just a fascinating phenomenon to me that people could be like, oh yeah, it's a cell phone tower that did it. It's not actually a virus, even though the entire medical community says so, and like and every doctor in the CDC and the AMA and like but like it's oh no, it's got to be this. So it's amazing that people can do that. It's cognitive dissonance at its worst.
Yeah, it seems to be.
Go on.
Sorry, it seems to be like a personality trait to some degree. And I had my own run-in with this in a transport with a anti-vaxxer mom, and it was like, we were transporting and the kid was having these issues that I don't remember if it even would have been affected by proper inoculations. It doesn't matter, but somehow we got on the subject of it. And I was trying to come from a place of listening so that she didn't get in fight mode, which I imagine she probably gets a lot with that subject matter. And we were going to Baltimore where there was actively at the time a measles outbreak. And she was talking about, I need to know basis. I need to do more research. And she talked about research, and it was obvious she had no real understanding of how to even read studies, or, you know, reading sample sizes of like 11, nothing truly empirical. And it got to the point where she's like, well, you know, maybe it's a need to know. And I was like trying to go to the extremes and start talking about chemtrails. It's just like, you know, everyone wants to find these extremes. These extremes start talking about chemtrails. And she's like, well, what are chemtrails? And I like explained it to her as this ridiculous example. And she started latching onto that idea. She's like, oh my God, it kind of makes sense. And I was like, oh my God, I'm doing more damage than I'm helping. And it was so obvious that at that point, it makes more sense to at least her mental framing that something obscure that no one saw must be the real answer. It's the zebra diagnosis, opposed to it's just a horse.
Mm-hmm.
The Earth is flat, right?
Well said, boys. Yeah. Well said. And this confirmation bias,
definitely flat.
And it's like, oh yeah, everything. And it's people who if you're willing to accept one conspiracy theory like that, like the slope to get to all of them is really short, right? Like it's a short ramp.
Chat says Skynet did it. And I mean, if we all have seen Terminator, this would be a good first way to wipe out the first round of people from being able to fight back. So there is something to it. 5G, Skynet. I mean, I'm jumping on that bandwagon.
And, yeah, exactly. The robot apocalypse. Yeah.
If you ever get on a YouTube binge and like it's just all you need to do is start with like one Illuminati video, like 4 hours down the line, you like come out of your blackout and you're like, oh my God. And you're like 27 videos down and you're like, this kind of makes sense. And then you splash cold water on your face. But it's crazy how easy it is to kind of you start going and it just dips in there.
Yeah. Booters, what's going on in a brain when that happens?
Wow. The latching on to?
Yeah. Like when you find one, you're like, oh.
Yeah. Answer scientific questions for us, Booters.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not scientist per se. With the latching on to, I mean, I think I think that's just a very human phenomenon. You want explanations, you want something. So yeah, I mean, I think you said confirmation bias. It's that too. It's like if I believe this one thing, okay, what else affirms that, and then can I kind of run with?
Mm-hmm.
But you said something about when I was thinking about this whole technology thing and the 5G, and this is a really far out there theory, but I think humans are also very self-punishing, and one thing I've heard a lot of is um, oh, we're such a curse on the environment, and then you see the swans in Venice and the dolphins. Oh, it's so beautiful. See, we're the problem.
We deserve
So
it.
then I'm wondering if the 5G thing has something to do with that. Like we've gone so far into technology that it's technology that's killing us. We've ruined ourselves. That kind of thing.
Yep. I well said. I think that is exactly right. I think that there's a certain amount of, and I don't think it's any one thing. I think it's a combination of probably all of it. Whereas that there are some people who are like, I mean, I was just talking to somebody the other day who was saying like, oh yeah, like after all the damage we've done to our environment, we totally deserve this, right? Like the air. Like I saw an article in I think it was the LA Times saying that the LA's air quality is better than it's been in like 40 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is, but like you would only write a piece like that if you're like, see, humans are terrible and they deserve this. Like this was coming.
Yeah.
Remarkable leap of logic there. But I mean, I wonder how much of that is, I mean, I don't think any of it's real. I think it's all just a trauma reaction.
Yeah, I mean, I do think to some extent when you have a higher density of humans, stuff like this does become more likely, but it's not moral. It's not, we're not being punished, we're not being fixed. It just happens. It's just there's more people, you get the spread of a virus.
Yeah.
Right?
But that requires a logical mindset, and in times like this, I feel like some people, I can't generalize everyone, but some people tend to lean more to their emotional side of thinking. And when you're thinking with emotion instead of with logic, things like this happen. Oh, that 5G tower? No, that totally did it. I'm mad at something. I need to focus that frustration. I will pick up whatever I can feel. I feel like this could be something. I don't know. I mean,
yep, and that you're exactly right, and that's where the deep state. All three of these all come from that. Like, it's somebody's fault. It's somebody we hate's fault. It's the deep state's fault and the Democrats' fault from QAnon, right? They're just like, oh yeah, there's a whole theory going on the QAnon site right now that says, oh, this is all happening because the Democrats know they're going to lose to Trump in 2020, and they're terrified of it, so they engineered a virus to kill people, to scare them into voting Democratic in the election. I mean, that is a remarkable leap of logic.
Yeah.
But, and yet there are blogs, tens of thousands of posts about it. And that's just an incredible phenomenon. And the same goes for the other one we were talking about, the Chinese bioweapon theory, which is in China, the U.S. created this virus as a way to kill Chinese people in retribution in Trump's trade war. And the other side of it is, oh, no, the Chinese created it to get back at us for the trade embargo. So it's like, it's actually biological warfare being done on the DL.
There's interesting stuff with that because I was just talking to my roommate about this last night. Like, there was an article that came out in January that this doctor, the leading chemist in the USA, might be one of the top chemists in the world, but was said to have had sold this virus to China, and he was arrested and tried on multiple accounts. Now, Reuters released a report like 2 days ago saying that no, he was arrested because of his ties to China, not because he's selling viruses to China. But it was funny because China. In the reports, it was saying that China was looking to ramp up their chemistry and departments, I guess, at certain locations. The government was trying to ramp up their production of stuff that I don't feel like going into, to be honest. But so what they're doing is they were putting out like ads to lure chemists from around the world to come to China and help them develop certain technologies and things like that. And while they were doing that, like, I guess this guy, Dr. Lieber, in this article, it was saying that he actually he worked at Wuhan University and that's when his ties were linked to China. So they were arresting him because of like spying. They thought he was sharing secrets and information, but it all seemed so convenient based on this. It's like, oh, he didn't make any like weapons, biological weapons for them, but this did originate in Wuhan, and they hired him to come over to the country and placed him in Wuhan. It's a very interesting topic, and it seems so convenient that he wouldn't be developing this, even though he's a chemist. I don't know. But this is up for other people. Like, I wasn't there. I wasn't in the courtroom. I'm not in that guy's head. I'm not his best friend. So
were you not there? I don't know.
Ooh,
now you weren't there because you said you weren't there.
Okay, so I don't want to talk about it.
Exactly what someone would say if they were there.
Right.
Yeah.
Totally.
It was the deep state. I mean, obviously. But I mean, yeah. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, it's obviously not true, and of course, like, it's just everyone's just like happy to pile on because it's like, I guess, boredom, or because like they really. I think there's a combination of just like mean boredom of people being like, oh, it's got to be this person's fault, let's pile on that to make myself feel better, and some combination of people who are really terrified that there's like some sort of invisible plot of Bilderberg-esque kind of a thing where there's like all these machinations behind the scenes where this is all happening. But it's like, I mean, how do you, if you have convinced somebody, if somebody's been convinced of this, like, where do you go from there? And to that end, think about that for a minute, and I'm going to bring on our good friend Aniket, who has been very patiently waiting in the waiting room for us.
We are going to have such a party today. Look at this party.
Oh, it's going to be just a little
party
situation.
or am I replaced?
No, you please hang out. Don't.
Oh my
go
God!
anywhere.
Get out of here!
Oh, we got a whole.
Get out of.
I mean,
stay.
We got a whole bunch of show. Aniket.
Hello.
We'll be able to hear us any second. He's connecting to audio.
I see that.
It takes a second. I know, isn't this really fun, guys? Just like waiting for people to connect to audio all the time. Technology is great.
We're gonna talk to Ian about that later, off camera. He's not working with 5G. That's the problem that he's experiencing.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Notes.
Okay. Wait a second. Hey, Aniket, welcome to the show, man.
Hey, love your background, man.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I love your hat.
Thank you. Go Nats.
Go Nats. Thanks for coming on the show, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I don't know if have you been watching? Do you know you've been talking about conspiracy theories? Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think it's a really interesting topic, especially right now. When you read like international media, like I do a lot, you see different weird theories come from around, like everywhere in the world about coronavirus. It is really dystopian, like what's going on today, right?
Yeah.
Like, who would have thought, we would all be in this situation? So I think you guys made some really good points about things like how, people are just bored, or they're trying to validate themselves like emotionally in some way by creating these theories. And, like, I think everyone's just looking for ways to validate their own biases, right?
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. And Aniket, you work in the pharmaceutical field.
I do, yeah.
We won't mention the name of who you work for, but you work for a big pharmaceutical company. And so I'm sure you're getting a lot of insight, hearing a lot of chatter right now about this whole hydroxychloroquine nonsense. This is I didn't put this on my list originally, but I think this is the one that is driving me the craziest, only because like we mentioned this last week, that the president, who is basically a mob boss at this point, it turns out he and most of his friends own stock in the company that make it.
Yeah,
so,
it's interesting. See, I think that's a good theory that you mentioned as well. Like, he does own stock in it, but you got to realize hydroxychloroquine is a generic drug.
Yeah,
it's manufactured very cheaply across the world. Like, it's ridiculous that he's up there promoting a drug without being a doctor, right? Because I work in marketing, so that's what I do. And when you talk about promoting a drug, you have to mention side effects and things of that nature. There's regulation around it. There's FDA regulation
famously
around promoting drugs and marketing material, right? If anyone's seen a TV ad, so every time he promotes hydroxychloroquine, there should be an ISI running to the bottom of the screen. Like, technically, right? There should actually be an ISI down there talking about the side effects and things and adverse effects that could happen based off of taking this drug. Like, you don't want to promote any drug, unless
Yeah,
you go
it's
to a
not like
doctor's office.
it's not like someone could die or anything,
Yeah.
and then his wife hospitalized. Oh wait,
Yeah.
that did happen. Oh my
So-
gosh.
So here's what's crazy is that we actually have a paper trail. So speaking of conspiracy theories, here's the other side of the conspiracy theory thing, which is that conspiracy theories are BS until they're not. And when I say that, I mean, like, at some point you can, if it is a real thing, the proof will come out. And
Yeah.
sure enough, this whole hydroxychloroquine thing started as a conspiracy theory, like, oh, the president owns stock.
So
And everyone was like,
So-
okay, that's believable. And then the paper trail emerged. Turns out Rudy Giuliani has stock and sold stock, and we have the
Yeah,
receipts. And so does
and
Trump.
Sanofi, right? Like, there's a whole thing about Sanofi being a big generic manufacturer, which is true.
Novartis, I
Novartis
think.
is as well, and the all Michael Cohen connection. I'm sure you all read about
Yep.
that.
The
And then
1.8 million.
I mean, Pfizer also has Mylan, which is a generic drug maker. They're a huge maker of hydroxychloroquine. Most of this hydroxychloroquine is actually manufactured in India, and the actual materials to make like the active ingredients are manufactured in China. When you look at the history of it being used as the anti-malaria drug, so it's vastly available across sub-Saharan Africa, Asia, like everywhere where malaria is a prevalent thing. And there have been plenty of distribution of that drug for years, for very cheap and even free across those areas. Now, Trump, I think, is just looking for an easy victory, right? He's seen anecdotal evidence of hydroxychloroquine alleviating symptoms in some countries where they have no other options, right? And I mean, yeah, there is no option anywhere. You've seen anecdotally it being used in France. Now, France decided to do a study in a specific hospital in Marseille, and over there was a very high rate of patients recovering, right? Now, France is actually it's actually like a study that's going on there to a certain degree, but it's not double blind. So they're basically just using them as test subjects at this point, out of
Right.
desperation. That's what's happening, right? Now,
Which would not be appropriate at all.
no,
under
not
any
at all.
other
And then that's why
circumstance.
you saw Dr. Fauci and like the actual MDs up there being very hesitant and
whoa, whoa,
very
whoa.
cautious when he started doing this. And I don't know what he's told him in the background, but he's probably told him to like this, if you don't have anything nice to say, just don't say anything at all or something, right? And just pushing them aside, and saying like, look, your job is just to promote optimism or whatever, and just tell them the data that you're supposed to tell them. Don't give up your opinions on these things. That's my job or whatever. His ego. He's feeding his ego like he always does, right?
Yeah, don't rock the
looking
stock
for-
market. It'll make my numbers bad.
He's really looking for an easy win right now because the election's coming up, right? This needs to stop for him before the generals really get heated, right? So he's, for his own selfish reasons, he's promoting this drug. That's what I think.
And
I mean,
malaria is not even a virus. It's a
No,
is it
but-
parasite or it's a
yeah,
bacteria.
it's so
right?
you're right. Malaria is not a virus. It's it's, I believe it's bacterial or from a mosquito bite, and it's the thing is it has some endpoints, I guess, that help alleviate some of the symptoms of COVID.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's not
If
even
it's
a
used
cure.
early on in
Getting
the
symptoms.
onset.
Yeah, I mean, and yeah, like I mean, first of all, it should be taken under doctor supervision because certain people say like if you have heart conditions, you shouldn't be taking it. You shouldn't just blanket promote it or any drug. Like not everybody should take Tylenol, right?
Isn't tonic
Yeah.
water? My grandfather, who served in World War II, used to drink tonic water because it had quinine in it,
Yeah.
and quinine eases the
Right,
effects of malaria.
Possibly.
Why wouldn't we just start with something like that? That doesn't need to be doctor prescribed. You can go get some.
I mean,
tonic water.
like if you
It's
look
not
at China,
flashy.
they right.
It's not flat.
Put some
It
gin in
doesn't
it.
support
Yeah,
Novartis.
don't-
It doesn't
it's-
support big pharma.
Yeah.
It's
That's
not
why.
publicly traded, right? I'm kidding. But
Funny.
yeah, like it's I mean, if you look at China, their health minister actually came out promoting some traditional Chinese medicine as well, right? Just through anecdotal evidence of it helping alleviate some of the symptoms, and say that they were having some success in it in their treatment of patients with COVID. So, I mean, right now everything is pretty anecdotal. There has not been enough time to run a proper study that could go through,
Right.
that could accumulate enough data, right, to scientifically prove something. Um, we need to wait for that. Studies are going on right now, and that's why the recommendations or the guidelines that are provided. So like you have to just not expose yourself to it. That's the biggest thing, and try to prevent yourself from getting it. So, and then spreading it to other people, right? So
Wash your hands.
Wash your hands.
Wash your hands.
It's definitely. I mean, I think like the only places where it's really worked is, and where they've really been able to have some success in the curve, are places where they've done almost authoritarian level government intervention. I mean, even when you see Western democracies like Italy, they resorted to things like that to a certain degree when it got so out of hand. That's the only way it works when you have a dense population. And it's only in certain areas where you have a dense population that's so exposed, right? England tried this whole thing, the herd immunity, right? Now Boris Johnson is in the ICU, right? I mean that they had a skyrocketing, but they stopped that really fast too and went to isolation. It's obvious. It's going to have an economic hit. It's going to hurt. It's going to hurt people's economy. It's going to hurt the global economy. I think that's just inevitable at this time. You have to be patient.
Yeah.
But also with, the problem with this being there, when there was a pandemic team in the US, they had a plan and, taking these early measures very, very far, very quickly. But you also have so many people in the US who are like, this is my freedom, don't do this to me. And if they're not seeing people getting sick and dying, they're going to really think that it's nothing, and I think to get uneducated, not to diss my own country, but, really anti-scientific folks on board with something like this when they're not seeing anything, they would be like, what? This is just about my freedom. Why would you? And they're not all Southern, but.
Right. No. Yeah. But, I think that's when freedom is kind of like a double-edged sword, right? And Western, I'm all about, our Constitution and having the freedom to do things and whatnot. But at the same time, you kind of see where, on the like an authoritarian regime can just shut things down completely, right? Like they can disregard human rights and, and things like that, which is terrible. But at the same time, that's the only way China was really able to control it to this point. And it's still yet to see what if they've opened up now. They could have a second wave. We don't know.
Yeah.
I think it's everything is unknown right now. It's
sure. And who knows even about the reporting on what's going on?
I personally don't believe it. I don't know. I mean, when you look at an authoritarian regime, I mean, honesty isn't one of their forefronts, right?
Sure.
Like, and
everything is good to go, all cleared up, everyone's happy now.
I mean, just the way in the beginning. I mean, I think when you saw. Yeah, I mean, China didn't want to slow down the economy because they're exposed to the global financial markets too, right? So they were reluctant to share information to start with. In that sense, they didn't want to shut down their economy while everyone else. I mean, I'm not trying to go to this area where China did it on purpose. They did not, but I think that they were trying to suppress the information that came out of the country because they knew how big of an economic impact it would be. And I think to Rebecca, your point, we had a pandemic preparedness team for this very kind of thing. Trump fired them, right? His own Pentagon actually warned him in January when shit was actually getting real, right? Around the world, and guess what? He ignored it. Why? Because he also didn't want to have the stock market was so high at that point, and he was tweeting about it every day about we're hitting new record highs, right? Like every day.
Yeah.
It's so good. So and now it's like, it's like putting your foot in your mouth. He's the egotistic guy, and due to his ego, people die.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I mean, this is part of the reason why the conspiracy theory environment is allowed to survive, right? Because there's no team that can go out there and swat those away. Like there's no, like after 9/11 happened, there was a commission that was created that studied it in depth and like all this. So when the 9/11 truthers came out and they were just like, oh, Bush did 9/11 or Israel did 9/11 or so whoever, it was like, no, actually we have the evidence right here. This is the evidence that says, nope, that's all wrong. So without a team in the government level, or even a blue ribbon commission or some government entity, without that, you don't have any way to sort of swat it away. If you're Donald Trump, you have every reason to just let it happen.
Yeah,
because it distracts everyone from the
and that's been his MO and this is when you see the dangers of it and like what occurs. People die, right? When you don't have a government that you can trust.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. You guys, Adam and I have a very special surprise of someone that we're going to bring in a second. We hadn't planned this. This kind of all happened last minute, but we have a special guest coming all the way from Australia. Adam,
he's in New Zealand currently.
New Zealand, and we have him in the waiting room. So I'm just going to go ahead.
What the hell time is it even there?
It is.
Yeah.
We will ask him. We'll ask him when he gets on. This is my friend Lee. He was actually one of my roommates when I lived in Vietnam. So I got a chance to get a hold of him today. So he can kind of, share stories of what's going on in New Zealand. So hopefully we can get this working. Let's see if he's got some audio going on.
Lee, I have unmuted him. Lee, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you guys. Can you hear me?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, Lee, what's going on?
We can't see you, but we can hear you, Lee. Welcome to the show.
Okay, cool. Thanks for having me, guys. Adam, you handsome devil. That beard is amazing.
I've been doing what I can to grow it out, I've been putting a lot of water and moisturizer into it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Keep it clean.
It's looking good. How do I get on this thing?
So Lee, it's been a while since we've caught up. It's been actually probably a couple years since we've had a good chat. But now it looks like even though we're across the world from each other through coronavirus, we get a chance to reconnect, and we've got video. This is amazing
video. Yeah.
So tell us,
halfway around the world. Happy Friday to you. Friday morning there in New Zealand.
Thank you.
Tell us what's going on in New Zealand. What are things like for you right now?
In the future.
Sure. So we're 2 weeks in to the lockdown.
Mm-hmm.
We got two to go. Unfortunately, we've only had one death. One is too many, but
sure.
Hopefully, that was over a week ago. So thankfully there's no more. The New Zealand Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern, she was quick to act on this, and she's being praised.
No, she's fantastic, absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, she was really quick and made the right decision. Everyone agreed with what she did, and everyone's behaving themselves and staying in. And the same as you guys, I'm guessing everything is locked down except for the hospitals and the supermarkets.
Mm-hmm.
So really, that rush for food and stockpiling food and everything was needless. And I don't know why people had to do that, but
are there still toilet paper? Is there still toilet paper at your grocery stores?
Well, there was people bringing rolls of toilet paper back for refund and stuff. It was just getting a bit ridiculous. But
you'll use it at some point.
I mean, yeah, right. Like at some point you won't need to go back and buy it, I guess. But so in New Zealand, yeah, like you said, you guys are getting a lot of praise for how they've been handling it. Now, you mentioned that you have 2 weeks left to go. Have you guys been given a date that the lockdown is going to be lifted?
What the date is going to be around the 24th, I think, of April.
Wow.
But they've actually communicated. Yeah. So for us, I mean, the only thing that was announced was our president said that he wanted everything to be back to normal by Easter. But seeing as how things are so...
which is 72 hours from now.
Yeah, since things are just not great right now, that got changed. Yeah. But we are far from any kind of specific date or information about the release of this lockdown. I think honestly, I think it's going to extend over a month or two. It's going to be a lot longer for us.
Yeah, that's unfortunate, guys. I'm feeling it because only 2 weeks in, and a lot of people are sort of losing their mind a bit. But
sure,
the big difference is as well, obviously, that the size and population of between the two countries, like it's a lot easier, obviously, to control. And there's only 4 million people here in New Zealand, and it's made up of two islands, the north and the south, and it's a contrast between the two islands. In the south, I lived there for 2 years. It's cold. It's mountain regions, and the north is different. It's warmer climate and more populated because Auckland is the capital in the north. But like I said, I think because that Jacinda Ardern acted so quickly, it stops the more deaths from happening.
Of course.
Yeah, and I have my immediate family in Perth, in Western Australia, the most isolated capital city in the world, and even they have more deaths than New Zealand. So not a lot more, maybe 6 or 7 or something like that. But yeah,
In
it seems like,
Australia, how are they doing in Australia as a whole? Are they getting hit pretty hard right now? I don't have any numbers for them off the top of my head.
yeah, the two biggest states, the most populated states are
Mhm.
Victoria
Mhm.
and New South Wales. So Sydney, the biggest city in Australia, is the capital of New South Wales, and Melbourne is the capital of Victoria. Those two states have been affected the most, again because of high population and,
Sure.
and and a lot of travelers coming in and out of there. And it even got to the stage where the West Australian sort of side of the government were basically messaging and talking to people on the East Coast like they were like some sort of foreign alien, saying, "We don't want you here coming to our state. Stay on the East Coast. You guys are bringing this to the West Coast. We don't want you here, and we're all Australian." And he's like, sort of, I don't know, making that divide, and it was just strange to hear it.
I mean, actually, that's been happening in this area too. Like, we live in Maryland, which is just outside of Washington D.C., and it's a pretty small state, and we are connected to Delaware, which is an even smaller state. It's tiny, and I know of a friend that was trying to get out to the beaches in Delaware because it's on the coast, just to kind of escape for a little bit, and they're arresting people that are coming in with out-of-state plates. They're like,
wow.
I don't know what is happening after that arrest. I don't think that they're locking anybody up. It's probably like, I don't know what the
Go
process
home or
is, but it's
something.
it's like, get back in your car, go home, don't come back. It's like it's a really weird scenario because we're not country states. Like we are one entity, and it's like, just to go through what this like border line is that's drawn, you could just be stopped, sent away. It's a very interesting, very surreal experience because I've never experienced anything like that before.
It's like it's like a very, very low budget Mad Max sequel, basically.
Yeah, super low budget.
Super low budget, directed by Ed Wood. Terrible. Just a terrible movie.
A sham.
That no one wants to watch. I mean, that's. I'll tell you what. I think it's great though. Like, and I think New Zealand is just such a great, like, shining example of like when scientists say, like, doctors say, do this, it's going to help stop the pandemic, and you do it, and everyone's on board, and the government's on board, and it's done, and it's regulated and socially enforced. It works.
Yeah.
So any of the conspiracy theorists out there who are going to tell you that, oh no, the whole quarantine thing is a Democratic hoax to keep Trump in the White House, if anyone actually believes that, nope. In fact, there are places in the world who are following some instructions and are seeing results.
Yeah, this
right
is a
now.
global thing. This isn't just a U.S. politics thing. Like, this isn't just an us thing. It's everyone's being affected.
But of course, Americans would make it all about them. So
right. Well, and Trump makes everything about him.
Yeah, exactly.
That, Americans who support him are like, well, everything's about Trump. Everything's about me.
Yeah.
Deep state.
This is the worst time to do that.
Yeah.
Now we know who Lee is voting for in our election coming up.
That's just amazing. Well, that's great. Lee, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate that. You're beaming in. You are now our first international guest, and I'm so glad that we got a little bit of international perspective on all this nonsense. Over here in the States, I feel like we live in a bubble, and we don't get out of that bubble nearly often enough. So thank you, sir. Stick around for just a minute. We have one more. We're running out of time here, but I have one more guest. Last week, we had kind of a fun ending. There was one of the fun things that's been coming out. One of the things that's been coming out of this pandemic is that people have gotten very creative. There's lots of great creativity happening at home. People are making videos and like writing songs and like doing music. Last week we featured a family that did a cover of "One Day More" from Les Mis, which thought was like the funniest thing ever. And it's just like a heartwarming kind of nice thing. And since we've been talking about so much drama and all this like just nonsense, terribleness going on in the world, I think it's nice to be able to end the show with a little bit of levity, a little bit of like a nice thing. So I'd like to introduce all of you to my good friends Luke and Jessica, who will be in the room any minute. Though I guess Zoom is kind of taking its time getting people into the meetings these days. Hello, oh there they are.
Man, this looks like my Seder last night. So many windows. This is my Seder last night.
Right. So I think they're still trying to figure out an audio situation, but while we get them. Luke and Jess. Hey.
Hey guys.
What's up, Luke and Jessica? Welcome to the show.
Woo!
Coming to us from LA. So we've got LA, New York, DC, and New Zealand represented here on this call today. Pretty exciting stuff. Luke and Jessica, how are you guys doing?
Doing good. Staying warm, staying inside.
Good. And everybody's safe and healthy, I hope.
Yes.
Good. I wanted you, so I was just saying before I brought you guys on, I was just saying like this has been a show where we're talking about conspiracy theories, right? It's a lot of like dark, weird stuff going on in the world right now. So I just wanted to take a minute. I was like, I want to end the show on like a positive note. And I wanted you guys to join us right at the end of the show because you guys did something amazing. And before I show it, we're going to end the show with it. Tell us a little bit about what inspired you to make this video.
Well, we've all have found some good COVID content on Facebook these days, and I saw a friend posted, I can't wait until someone does a "Baby There's COVID Outside" song, and I was like, Jessica, that's a really funny idea, and we just started spitting off some lines to each other, and then Jessica the next day just kept going with it and wrote down pretty much all of the lyrics that we came up with at the end, and then we're like, all right, this is funny, like let's record this.
Yeah, you learn a lot in quarantine. Like, I'm a songwriter, I guess.
Yeah, it's like the time is there. Why not, right?
Yeah.
Like it's like we have some cameras and some editing equipment. Let's do something with this.
Sure.
That's more or less where the show came from. So I think that's amazing. I think there's going to be like a whole genre of like brand new live stream content, brand new like song parody content, just like people trying to make the best of being stuck in their house, right? With cameras and computers. Why not? Might as well just make some art. Just like do some stuff with it, because like the worst that happens is that nobody cares. And the best that happens is you have a great time doing it, right? So
you guys are going to be TikTok famous.
TikTok famous. And because of that, I really wanted us to be a part of that. So before we cut to it, though, we could do a quick Adam, if you want to do a quick recap of all the things we just talked about today. I think the short version is, and correct me if I'm missing anything anywhere, fill me in. I think that we can look back at some of these conspiracy theories that we've been talking about and think like, with a little bit of effort into digging into reality and digging into the real trustable news sources, doctors, and medical professionals, people who know what they're talking about. I think we can sort of distance ourselves away from worrying that the coronavirus is some sort of like militarized weapon or a democratic plot to steal the election from Donald Trump or any nefarious. I think it's not so nefarious. I think it is just about fear, and I think it's about how we're dealing and processing a traumatic event. And
how I feel about it, like in this show, we decided that we wanted to come together and bring people to share stories and their opinions and their perspectives. None of this is based on any kind of, there's some factual information we share, but for the most part, it's all our opinions, how we're feeling about the whole situation, right? And I understand that there are a lot of conspiracy theories out there. My take on it is I'm not present for any one of the meetings for any of these governments. I don't know if it's a bioweapon. I have no idea if these 5G towers are doing things. The point is, like, take all the information that you read or see or hear or watch with a grain of salt. come to your own opinions based on factual, logical information from multiple perspectives and multiple sources. Don't just be like, oh, 5G, we're all going to die now. Thanks, 5G. It's not like that. So that's really what it's all about. It's about doing your research because you've got nothing better to do. We're all sitting at home. We're all doing the exact same nothing. So when you're reading through all these articles and you're seeing this, like, I don't know, be real about it. Critically think on these subject matters because you don't have anything else better to do. And that's kind of how I feel about the conspiracy theories.
Absolutely right. Well said. Anybody else want to have any parting thoughts about conspiracy theories about this or anything else before we go?
Just quick. Just quickly, I've been watching David Icke interviews on London Real on YouTube. It was interesting. Like, he was just blowing my mind with his theories and opinions about what's going on, and of course, like, the big corporations and how they're coming together, and cashless society and all this sort of thing. So I don't know, it's just kill some time. Watch the David Icke interview on London Real on YouTube.
Okay.
David, good call.
We'll post that in chat. That's in the chat. Somebody was mentioning earlier in chat. It's when somebody has a platform, everyone will listen. Like, when you have the platform and the ability to project, like if you are some kind of celebrity, anything like that, like, people will listen to you. So you got to make sure that the person who's saying these things is a credible source of this information. Don't just go out and eat all the pills that you see because somebody says, hey, that's a good drug. I like that drug. Take that.
Yeah, talk to your doctor before you try hydroxychloroquine.
Talk to your doctor. Please.
Talk to your doctor.
That's amazing. And also, I don't know if anybody's ever seen it yet, but Some Good News by John Krasinski, which is happening right now, is like maybe the best thing I've ever seen. If you haven't seen that yet, absolutely, immediately after the show is over, find it on YouTube and watch it. It's one of the best things out there right now. I just want to thank, real quick, Booters. Thank you for coming on. Anneke.
Thank you. This was so fun.
Yes.
Yeah, this is great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. Lee, thank you for coming in all the way,
beaming
all the way from across the world in the future, in Friday. Thank you so much. And Ian, as always, thank you for joining us Thursday. That's Adam Levy. I'm Chris Godwin. Hey. This is Luke and Jessica down at the bottom there. And without further ado, I'm just going to go ahead and cut to their video. I'm going to mute everybody's mic on the call, but don't go anywhere, and we'll be, But in the meantime, good night, everybody. Thanks so much.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you for having me.
Lee, bye.
Thanks, brother.
I really can't stay.
But baby, there's COVID outside.
I've got to go away.
But baby, there's COVID outside.
This quarantine's been
I'm so glad we have
kind
you.
of a bore.
The governor's added 2 weeks.
My mother will start to
The
worry.
market is enough.
My father will be pacing the floor.
Don't you dare go out of that door.
Toilet paper sold in a hurry.
Postmates is bringing some curry.
Maybe just an episode more.
Put some Netflix on while I
My
pour.
friend sent this link.
But baby, it's bad out there.
Gross, is that what I think?
No jobs to be had out there.
Let's go take a stroll.
But we need a 6-foot pole.
Say, lend me a mask.
I don't think so. That's quite a
I ought
nice.
to go outside.
Just trying to keep you
At
alive.
least I'm gonna flatten the curve.
Those spring breakers sure got some nerve.
Okay, we can stay.
About to hit play now.
I
Baby,
just
don't
won't
go
go
outside.
outside.